Righto, money miners. GC, you did a sensational job yesterday.
Oh, thank you, Matthew.
You just do the GC version. You just great. You just make your own righto. You're already famous enough for Ali GC. Oh, buddy, mate, in the true spirit of Australian hopes and dreams, on the day of the Melbourne Cup, we thought we're going to bring you pretty much all the hopes and dreams in the small cap and mid cap deal space that we think may happen in the next year. Trav, you've a bit of interesting shit's popped up recently.
Yeah, I think, mate, I feel like there's a bunch of companies that are going to come on the scene via either a discovery or a transformational deal. And I'm keen to highlight a couple of them, you know, in the spirit of the underdogs maybe winning the Melbourne Cup.
Well, speaking of whoever was riding warp speed, number 4, if you could have whipped it a bit harder and got it over the line in first, you've really pissed me off. You've done me out of $600. Fuck. Spew. Oh, anyway, they get in. There's protests over whipping, so I better not talk about that. Anyway. Oh, go Australia. Righto. And where we start? Let's start on the small shit.
You've got uranium stuff you wanted to talk
about? Oh, no, I actually had a bit of a fun fact given me today. Yeah. You know, the uranium equities are getting hammered a bit at the moment and spots down. But I've actually heard, I didn't know this mob existed. Apparently there's a Kazakhstan it's a privately owned physical uranium investment fund. Mm-hmm. And so Kazatomprom was actually one of the seed investors of it.
Right.
Okay.
And apparently this investment fund has about a £2 million inventory surplus at the moment, and that's what's feeding into the spot market selling at the moment, which
why would they sell it if it was a fund?
That's the question.
Yeah.
That is the question. I didn't get the answer as to why they would be selling it.
Gotcha.
But it sounds like the spot market's actually sitting at that historical point where I think the last term price was 83, spots at 78.
Pretty similar.
Which is what it used to be, how the spot market worked, because it was for all the leftover shit. So be interesting to see. I'm not sure when the next term price comes out. I think it's usually at the start of the month. I don't think because it comes out once a month, what the updated term price is. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's come out yet. If it has come out already, I look like an idiot.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so a bit of fucking fun just to start with uranium. Right, Trav, what's popped up in the last couple of months? I assume a lot of these are gold related.
There are some gold ones, yeah. And I mean, I've got to have a breather talking about MinRes, Matty. I've got some feedback over the last 24 hours to stop talking about MinRes. So the money miners want to get a bit more esoteric with the coverage, talk about some companies that are a bit off the radar. So I'm gonna channel that energy today.
What else would you talked about yesterday?
It wasn't much yesterday.
I appreciated there was some YouTube comments in there that were constructive criticism, and we do take all that on board for those people. The ones that just call me a bloody dumbass and everything, they can all get fucked. I don't care. But like the way we do take constructive criticism on board, so we're all ears.
Totally.
Unless you're a wanker.
Yeah. So good thing MinRes had no news today. It's up though. But I wanted to rattle through some of the small caps that have had a transformational change in the last few months, be it an asset acquisition or a discovery. These are companies that we haven't actually given any airtime to just yet, but they're on our watch list now. I've got 6 of them. Three are transformations from deals, and the other 3 are from recent discoveries. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Take it away, sunshine. And we're racing.
Number 1. We got Javelin. So 2 weeks ago, this is ticker JAV. 2 weeks ago, Javelin, they picked up the Eureka Gold project from Delta Lithium. This is like an old gold open pit about 50 kilometres from Kalgoorlie. They paid like $3 million in up front plus $1 million in deferred on a kind of hefty resource milestone of 200,000 ounces or a decision to mine. The stock's up a fair bit, as you can see, in that short period of time. It's one of those ones where it's like...
There is a fuckload of shares on issue.
Shares, one tick moves things a lot.
Like 20% or something.
It's up at like 100% rise from 0.1 to 0.2.
That's a common theme with some of these ones, I will say. But the investor preso suggests an undemanding market cap of only $15 million, but there's a catch. So you got 6 billion shares on issue. Like pro forma in the pro forma after the deal at 0.3 cents, so that's 18 million today, plus the options, right? And there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options. Most of these options are either
You
in the
know
money.
why I'm laughing, don't you?
I do. I do.
Okay.
Most of the options are either in the money or very close to it. So there's listed options JAVO with an exercise price of 0.3 cents, which is the share price today, and a bunch of unlisted options with an exercise price of 0.4 cents, so not too far away from the share price today. So for simplicity, call it 4 billion more shares from the Oppies. That's a market cap closer to 30 million bucks. Of course, there's like, if you wanted to the EV, there's cash that would come in the door from the exercise of those Oppies in due course. And I also think when you've got Oppies close to the share price, it's a bit of overhang because people, once it's in the money, they exercise them and then they sell the shares to get, a realised gain.
Circular, yeah.
So there's overhang there too. Regardless though, I thought it was interesting because this is just the theme of these kind of disregarded old pits that in this gold price environment make money. And if you've got them on MLs and they can be trucked to a mill and you can, literally you've got permitting to do it soon. I don't know what it is in this case. That's like a theme that we're seeing a lot because the gold price allows it at the moment. I think that's why I talked about it.
Is that have you ever seen, whether they are all in the money or not, but the total, all the options being about 75% of the total shares? Is that
oh, sorry, they're not. They'll be on the pro forma basis, 4 billion of 10 billion.
Oh, but before the raise part. So yeah, there's 3 billion options and a bit over 4 billion shares. That has to be up there.
That's
definitely on the high end.
Maybe some of those Oppies came with the raise, but yeah, regardless, Matty, it's kind of an obscene number of Oppies.
Yeah, wow. Oh.
Number 2 is kind of somewhat similarly minded theme. It's Labyrinth. In July, this company picked up Vivian, which was previously mined by Ramelius. It consolidated its ownership of Comet Vale at the same time from 51% to 100%. The star factor of this deal when it popped up were the esteemed kind of, vendors that were amongst it. Alex Hewlett of Wildcat, Red Dirt and Spectrum Success, along with Calvin Flynn. Ramelius mined 260,000 ounces of gold from Vivian between 2015 and 2023. And then also, in addition to this, Labyrinth, they entered an option with Olympio to buy its Mulwari project, and that was just yesterday. So you can see that this vehicle's got a bit of a strategy to just grow its gold tenure in these what they think are underexplored gold corridor of Menzies, Leonora, and Leinster. And kind of similar to Javelin, they've had a stellar share price run since the deal, but you've got to do some arithmetic to wrap your head around the company's market cap today. So you've got 5 billion shares, all in at 2.5 cents each. That's a $125 million market cap already.
Yeah. And don't forget about when that share price run, there was the post announcement when it went to 1.2, 1.3, there was the 1 for 2 entitlement offer at 0.3 cents.
That was for the project acquisition. Yes, and that happened later, yeah.
You know the worst fucking thing about this is when Money of Mine started, this was what all my money was in.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to nothing. Sold it all, and I would have had all my money back plus more now if I just didn't do anything. Good one, Matthew.
Hindsight's a good thing, isn't
Michael,
it?
I'm talking about. Anyway, and you know what the funniest thing about is, you think of the history of this. I'll be interested to see, considering Alex Hewlett sold Spectrum to Ramelius for penny.
Yeah.
Bought Vivian from back off Ramelius.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what happens with Penny once they finish mining it, if there's any other potential to further explore there.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense. Do you think this vehicle would be or a different vehicle? Yeah, regardless.
Based on historical transactions, it's like, well, are they going to... What's going to be the use of it when Ramelius don't want to punch the holes in any further?
The market cap, like 125 billion, there's star factor in that value that needs to be backfilled, and maybe that's what the more deal sort of stuff is. But Wildcat had the same, and that thing just kept running, maybe because of MinRes's degeneracy. But I was always just like, how is Wildcat the fully diluted market cap what it was, and it just kept going up. So
I think there's a bit of the star factor, but there's also Genesis as a shareholder in Labyrinth as well. Yeah. So is there going to be something
there?
Something happened there with these assets, or so there's a couple of angles there, I think.
Yeah. The other thing as well, it's sort of on that sort of trend of these larger companies letting these smaller or what they've believed to be, finished mining at, and then these smaller guys come in, then find this, find that, sort of Black Cat's kind of doing something like that now with Paulson. So maybe this will be something similar. Who knows?
Oh, and the other asset, they've got the actual Labyrinth Gold Project, the one in Canada, and there's we're interested to see what happens with that and Kelvin Flynn's historical connection with Silver Lake, with Volt's Sugar Zone project.
Right, jeez.
So
done your homework, Matty.
Oh, fuck it, yeah. That's what happens when you owned it. But it'd be interesting to see if those North American assets get spun out into another vehicle or not.
Yep.
Don't know.
TBA.
Did you have on the list the East Sampson Gold Project?
I didn't, Matty, but
Didn't
it kind of follows the same theme that the other two. Yeah.
The one that's recently acquired by MMS.
None other than MMS.
Mining, now a vertically integrated mining contractor on the back of Azure. I wasn't bloody taking the piss last week when I said that we won't be talking about them at the start of the show because they don't need us at the start of the show anymore. That's because they're buying gold mines now with no other than Refractory Rob at the helm as the new CEO. Holy snap of duck shit, this company is just going into the stratosphere of absolute success.
The whole theme of this segment is transformational like deals or transformational. I mean, you've literally got Refractory Rob, and now you've got a gold mine of your own to mine.
Well, think of where they've got the mine, they've got the contracting, and they've got an absolute processing guru in Refractory Rob. So I can't say I think they're buying mills next. Like that. This is where this is heading. And look at mate, they're even for the $4 payable on it. 1.5 is only payable after 25,000 ounces, which isn't even in the resource yet. Mate, their wheel isn't. They're going to start their own investment bank. Like these guys are unbelievable. Go MMS. They're going to absolutely rip that joint a new arsehole, that East Sampson Gold Project. It is going to be, mate, there is going to be gold flying out of there. Because MMS own it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they can mine your gold fast too. Get in touch.
Yeah, they just mine it, and they can lift your recoveries because Rob Ryan's the CEO. So
go MMS.
Who else, Trav?
The third one, this name is probably going to be irrelevant by the time I say it, but it's Coolabah Metals. They're in the process of RTOing or reverse takeover of Broken Hill Minerals. So it's going to be called Broken Hill Minerals when it sort of resurfaces and retrades again. The reason I want to talk about, I mentioned this or I've followed this is because we've spoken from time to time in the past about polymetals. You know, that kind of Cobar underdog that I've talked about a few times. So Polymetals, they're restarting the Endeavour silver zinc mine in the region, which they acquired from a subsidiary of Japanese kind of like smelting companies, Toho Zinc. Polymetals run year to date has been tremendous. They're up 129% this year. In the last month, 100%. And it's a ding ding dong for me because I've had it on my considering to buy watch list for ages and never quite got there.
Can I tell the backstory of that?
Tell me.
Trav was look, I'm considering buying this. Is it okay with all of yous? And look, I just don't know if I'm comfortable and and I'm like, just do what I do, Trav. Just buy the fucking thing and see what happens. And it's gone up shitloads since then.
Oh,
sorry to rub salt in the wound, Trav.
It's all right. I'm not
good for the viewers.
I'm not hurting or anything. So,
ding ding dong. That's a new one. I like that.
Maybe another time I'll do a deeper dive on polymetals, but until then, I did want to point out, so Coolabah Metals and this RTO of Broken Hill Mines has been kind of disclosed. The parallel to polymetals is that they're soon going to emerge owning the other silver zinc mine of Toho's, which is called RASP. RASP mine is actually like right in the town of Broken Hill. You can kind of see there on the aerial view. Yeah. RASP mine it's still an operating mine, unlike Endeavour, which Polymetals is restarting. So Coolabah soon to be Broken Hill Mines there, RTOing. In addition to RASP, though, they're picking up this option over mining the Pinnacles deposit or the Pinnacles mine, which is 15 kilometres from RASP and has a decent endowment in a 70-30 kind of profit share arrangement too. Now, RASP appears to be still making money this year. You can kind of see the cash flow in that chart.
Is it the historical Broken Hill mine? The one that Pirelli are like...
You're going to test me. I embarrassingly don't know.
I know that the town. I assume because Broken Hill was freaking huge. So obviously been around forever. I'll check that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they're going to do though is they're planning to restart underground development this month.
Yeah.
Apparently, and unlike sort of Javelin and Labyrinth, the chart sort of, it's not like one of those straight up ones where you're like, fuck, why didn't I buy this?
It's like a roller coaster.
But it actually hasn't traded since August, and they're going through the whole process of relisting, like you do with an RTO. They actually have to put a prospectus up, and they're IPOing at the same time with the new disclosure. Again, the capital structure is just one to wrap your head around. As like whenever you have a transformational acquisition with a deal, the shares flying everywhere, right? And after the capital raise or IPO, you're looking at a $240 million shares on issue. If you want to be harsh and throw the options in, there's another 100 million there at 20 cents each, which is going to be the IPO raise price, the standard IPO price. Looking at sort of $68 million kind of fully diluted market cap with a buffer of $17 million in available cash. That's after deducting the environmental kind of backing that's required in that part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that market cap screen is kind of undemanding if you take an optimistic outlook on the operational performance of the assets. But, big but, there are other risks to wrap your head around with this one too. Trafigura is providing the prepayment facility of $10 million, and they're getting security and offtake for the privilege of doing so. And the other thing is, like, shareholders who kind of lived through the mighty New Century run of 2017 will see a familiar face on the pro forma board, and those New Century shareholders might remember a certain royalty that became a bit of an issue and might even be an issue for Sibanye to this day as owners of that asset. Well, the acquisition of these assets comes with a 2% royalty on both Rasp and Pinnacles, which, kind of part and parcel. So make of that what you will when you weigh up the alignment, and be sure to kind of plug the impact of that royalty into your kind of cash flow projections in this asset.
Zinc's an interesting one. I heard that I think the potty that JD put in the director's special with Evie Hambro from BlackRock was talking pretty bullish zinc. Like, zinc never gets talked about. It's
Zinc
just
stinks.
one of those usual byproduct bloody things.
Boring,
but you think like
base
a zinc,
metals.
and the plenty of chat around the future of silver with electrification, and you look at your zinc silver mines, copper zinc mines like Woodlawn and that, like getting a bit of both could prove very interesting. Need a good commodity boom. Jesus Christ, everyone's rich. Whole world's happy. Just make sure you get out. Trav, next up, sir.
Well, that wraps up the three that I wanted to talk about that were transformational by deals. The next three are transformational by discovery. Yandal Resources.
That's a friggin' rip and a half.
If you're ever uncertain what a discovery can do to a share price, just look at that share price. They're up 375% this month, and at 38 cents a share is actually a $100 million market cap now.
Wow.
It's a discovery in the right spot as well.
Totally.
Because everyone's looking at the Strickland thing, and this discovery is in that proximity of Jundee, and there's precedence of what Northern Star will do when they bought the Strickland asset.
100%. 100%.
It's a bit of a perfect storm there.
The really interesting thing, it's one hole that the punters are excited about. It's a discovery called Siona, as you can see from the cross section here. To kind of summarize the excitement, you see the hole in the cross section. That intersection is 78 meters at 1.2 grams per ton. Importantly, that mineralization went all the way to the end of the hole, so it's still like open to the imagination how far that mineralization extends, or in technical terms, it's open down hole, down dip, and along strike. I say one hole, but to be accurate, it's two holes. The second was 170 meters away, and it had 14 meters at 1.8 grams per ton. And when you have like a discovery off a few holes and there's kind of blue sky upside, the share price can overextend both ways. The positive news, like you say, Matt, it's in the right part of the world, 45 kilometres from Northern Star's Bronze Wing and 75 kilometres south of Northern Star's Jundee mining centres. And with the Strickland precedent, which was they acquired Strickland's Millrose project for $61 million last year. That was 346,000 ounces at 1.8 grams per tonne. So a bit of water under the bridge to see what it can grow to with proper drilling. But there's reason to be interested and excited, and hopefully this Discovery can progress along the Lassonde curve.
I'm no GA, but I wonder if they've tested drilling it the other way and just to double check they weren't drilling through the whole vein and the dip's going the right way. I assume they know which way it's dipping in these areas, but it's a big, thick intersection.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, there's still obviously a fair bit more work to go. I imagine they'll be wanting to follow up those 2 holes pretty quickly.
Yep, totally.
Go Creasy. He's having he's flying at the moment, isn't he? Like sold the Azure stake back to Hancock, didn't he?
Yes.
I don't think Creasy's part of this one. So Creasy has a vehicle called Yandel.
Same shares the same name.
Yeah. Oh, isn't it?
Yeah, this is it's like a Jing who like a big shareholder, Regal are a big shareholder. Northern Star used to be a shareholder of this entity, they're not anymore.
Oh, Jesus Christ, give yourself an uppercut, man. I've probably helped a few people there because that'd have to be a common.
Yeah, his private vehicle's called Yandel Investments.
Don't worry about me. I've been on fire up until this point.
Go, man.
So my last 2 I kind of ran out of time and I've done a sloppy job on them, but Rimfire was one that was just come to mind. And if you look at that price chart, this company has been completely off my radar, but after soaring 500% in the last year, it boasts a $140 million market cap. The hype is in relation to its scandium deposit Firefield in New South Wales, where they've got an initial mineral resource of 5,000 tonnes of scandium oxide, which doesn't seem like much, but apparently scandium oxide sells for US $3 million a tonne.
Trav, can I ask a dumb question? What the hell is scandium?
I have no fucking idea.
Rare earth, isn't it?
I don't think it is. Anyway, I'm going to stop there before I say something stupid because there's a pretty good chance that I say something stupid because we're talking about, again, a commodity that I know sweet fuck all about. But
don't bring yourselves down to my level. I'll just chat GPT while you're talking.
There's for the punters who are kind of, love a bit of corporate drama, there's a pretty interesting article in the Sydney Morning Herald about this company and none other than Anton Billis of all of the mining characters out there. So just check that one out in your free time.
And then your lucky last, Trav, number 6.
The last one are Q2 Metals. This is a listing for the North American lithium spodumene fans out there, and we all know how few of them there are. But like, look at this share price year to date; it's up 334%, and now the James Bay Lithium Explorer is capped at 132 million Canadian dollars. What warrants interest here is that the hits with the drill bit. Of course, these are a couple. I'll just draw attention to it at Cisco property, 215 meters at 1.69%. Including 64.6 metres at 2.29% and 347 metres at 1.35%, including 30 metres at 1.76%. It's spot in Canada and there's, a bit of that, and we all know the challenges that comes with, but those hits screen exceptional no matter kind of how you cut it. So it made my list, and that wraps up my transformational assets.
Well, let's just close out the scandium thing. Scandium is classed as a rare earth.
Oh, fuck, there you go.
Technically classified as a transition metal.
Yeah.
So along with but it's applied in alloys with aluminium.
Mm-hmm.
Aluminium's cool these days, apparently.
Yeah.
Lighting nuclear applications.
Oh, mate, you're all over it.
Fucking aluminium and nuclear. Go scandium.
Jeez, you can undo that uppercut then.
Where do I sign? Bloody hell. Oh, very good.
I think one thing with all those bloody share price charts, like, geez, you need a tablet for the bloody motion sickness you'd get going up and down all these rides all the time. Far out.
Yeah. Oh, mate, just watch bloody, speaking of motion sickness, bloody take a quell before you go up to the revolving restaurant in Perth. I took Mum for a bloody high tea yesterday, and it takes a bit to get used to the fucking spinning around. It's not like the Gravitron or anything, but it's like, anyway.
Alrighty. I thought I'd take a look at some of the juniors these days. There's been a bit of capital raising galore, and I feel a bit of a sentiment shift as well.
Is that sentiment your sentiment? Because you're not doing ECM anymore?
Yes and no. But, I mean, as I would know, October and November are notoriously busy capital raising periods during the year. It's, usually the last, big hustle before the end of your wind down and Christmas parties and all the rest of it. And even, look, the last 2 weeks alone have seen a few big ones in the mid cap space, but also plenty down at the junior end too, and particularly in gold. Like just to name a few, I mean, the real big one was Montage Gold raising US $825 million to develop Kone. West Gold increased their corporate facility. Capricorn raised $200 to fund Karlawinda expansion. St. Barbara raised $100 today to accelerate sulfide expansion at Simberi. Black Cat and Mika both raised a lot of money to sort of remove their debt that they previously had in place. WEA raised $30 million to advance COCOSEV. That's more at a sort of advanced exploration level. And then there was also heaps of others, Tolu, Rumble, Great Bottle, just to name a few. And I feel like this is a bit more gold focused, but I feel like the funding dynamic and the sentiment for these gold juniors is shifting. When we sort of looked at this in a bit more detail in our, inaugural Aussie Gold Junior piece in the Director Special a few months ago, I thought I'd look back at that to see sort of the observations we were making at the time there. And a few of them were, it's been tough going for explorers and developers in the last 2 years, being ignored by corporates and the equity markets. As a result, many operating hand to mouth. Value is yet to be attributed to projects with economic ounces. And probably a more interesting one which has been, quite relevant of late is we think the failure of Calidus has changed the project finance landscape. Will Macquarie or, sort of other banks do project finance gold deals. This may leave only non-bank lenders who can't hedge, which means companies will need to use more equity, appetite for which is struggling at that time. But I feel...
You saw the future, Ali.
I feel like I saw the future a little bit. And now a lot of that's changed quite quickly in the last 3 months, right?
Super fast.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. Companies that, were not catching a bid all of a sudden have tripled.
Yeah.
Is your life in your old job, JC, much easier if you're just doing heaps of capital raises rather than doing debt jobbies?
Well, as far as the execution component goes, to execute a capital raising is much quicker than executing a debt deal.
Yeah.
The fee for effort ratio, as we talk about.
Yeah, the fee for effort ratio, it's much better. But that's, assuming you've got a healthy equity, environment as well. They can be pretty difficult too if there's no appetite or, you have to do funky, structures and things like that. So it's, if you've got a good equity environment in place, then as far as the execution of it, equity raising is way easier than debt. I mean, you've seen in the recent examples of Mika and Black Cat who had sort of debt or other alternative funding structures in place, and then literally months later gone, you know what, stuff it, I'll equity fund that because they'll be able to do it, at a much, less dilutive price, which is perhaps better than the cost of the debt that they organised at the time. So that's changed a lot. A lot of these, like you say, Trav, not all of them, but there's been a fair few that have caught a bid, that are up 50, 60% in a matter of months, where the gold price has only gone up 10%. But then again, that's been a lot of these sorts of companies have had to wait probably a year or 18 months of a very sustained gold price increase to actually, start catching a bid, right? So it feels like it's starting to work its way sort of down the sort of size of companies, I guess. And, those, like we sort of mentioned before, those companies that we thought perhaps were a bit marginal, a few months ago, a few years ago, that's just been flipped on its head.
All of the marginal ones had real talk and they've run very hard.
Look at Regis, nearly $2,500 all in sustaining, and they're classed as printing cash.
Well,
unhedged
that
now.
one quarter caught the market by surprise, didn't it? 85, and and then
that was a number that lost money not long ago.
If you had have cornered me in mid 2022 and said, Travis, the best performing gold companies from the start of 2023 to the end of 2024 are going to be fucking Gascoigne and Ora Banda. I tell you, you're fucking crazy. Honestly, like there'd be no way in hell I'd believe that. But here we are.
Here we are.
In the case of Gascoigne, they had a discovery. In the case of Ora Banda, it was management strategy, execution, and an endowment and a gold belt.
Yeah, done bloody well there. And
the other thing, we're just more broadly looking at it, is when this sort of happens in the cycle, which we are seeing at the the glimpses of at the minute, all these juniors, raising money to accelerate drilling, exploration, develop, all the rest of it, which then flows through to the rest of the sector as far as, the drillers, all the services companies and things like that, which will be, I think, a really refreshing change in light of what's happened in other commodities, mines closing down, things like that, at least in Australia anyway. So these interesting cycles when equity markets change and gold, or commodity price sentiment changes, just has such a huge, flow-on effect. But yeah, look, just because you got gold doesn't mean, you've got to make money. There's still a lot of other factors to think about. But I think a change is amongst us.
The ducks are quacking, Ali.
The ducks are quacking, yes.
They're coming down the home straight, GC. Oh, very good, mate. Right, I've created a segment out of nothing.
Love it.
Because I like doing that.
You never know what's going to happen when you create segments.
I know, isn't it great? I've got something that's just going to that I've never come up with before. I reckon you will like it, Trav.
I didn't even read your notes today.
No, I want it to be a surprise.
Please don't.
Don't read ahead.
Right. And I'm going to put a timeline on this, which is quite relevant to the media at the moment. 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
Very good.
First up, Westgold Ora.
What is the segment first?
Oh, just upcoming deals, transactions that I think, whether they're being logical or something that I think is shaping up to be a potential merger, acquisition, something with something.
Dart throwing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
There we go, dart throwing.
GC's a shareholder of this one, Ora Gold. So you can...
Ding for me.
And so, Ora Gold, Westgold. So if everyone didn't see, so this is a bit of a Murchison feel about it. So Westgold, which I think was probably great for Westgold, but it took a lot of competitive attention away from Ora when Westgold, I think they tipped $6 into the recent capital raise, and I think in the next possibly coming weeks there's going to be sort of that ore purchase agreement for the Crown Prince project to go to Westgold. So that's probably given Westgold a lot of power with this because they're a major
shareholder now. Yeah.
Well, they've got first right of refusal on the ore, so they can either take them over, they can just keep an ore purchase agreement with zero risk effectively. And I'll talk about the pros and cons of that.
Yeah.
But I think that they're obviously looking for that oxide feed, some pit feed, because, most of the stuff in the Murchison is underground stuff. I think this Mount Prince,
Crown
Prince project is, it's the starter pit. There is underground potential there as well. But from what I can see from the metallurgy, I don't think there's much, if any, copper in it. Looks like high gravity recovery plus 60%. Overall recoveries of 98. Probably could be a bit of a secret sauce to chuck in the Westgold mills to sort of complement the underground. So, and they've obviously, it'd be interesting to see what this ore purchase agreement is when it comes out. So, and you think, why didn't they just take them over when they were trading at 0.5, 0.6 and chucked a premium on it? Because you can see by the share price here, she's up to like 1.1 now. But it was one of those stocks that couldn't really. It was hard to probably get fundies to buy it because like when it's at 0.6, it goes up 1 pip and it's freaking 16%, depending on where you buy it. So it's funny because of another example where there's shitloads of shares on issue. So, and I think because I think how the ore purchase agreement works, my understanding, it's going to be something like, I think ore will get like 70 to 80% of the gold price. Westgold will get like for essentially financing it and mining it, and then Westgold will get 20 to 30% of the gold price for processing it and buying the ore. I think that's how it sort of works.
And you think the merit is there for Westgold to just wrap it up rather than have to deal with all of that?
Well, this way, the ore purchase agreement, like zero risk. They don't have to mine it. They just take the dirt, process it, but they sacrifice the free cash flow from it. Obviously, for ore, they would want to get they would want to be probably taken out, I would assume, ahead of doing it this way, because they're obviously not realising the full cash flow potential, because they're giving away whatever that ore purchase agreement is, 20 or 30%
at the right price
of the sale price.
Yeah.
But because you'd think Westgold were probably tied up a lot with the Karora transaction, that probably something like this wouldn't happen either before or during that.
Now it's done.
Yeah, now that
upsize the debt.
Now that it's done, Westgold's a $3 billion market cap, so even like just an all scrip offer to Aura wouldn't even frigging move the needle on a dilution front. Aura's trading, I think they're about 80 million now, so all scrip there, wouldn't even frigging notice it. Whether depending on what the major shareholders do. So I think, and it's the ground location as well. You look at this map where all Westgold's Bluebird tenure is, Aura's stuff is literally right next door. And you look at the recent exploration success Westgold have been having at Bluebird and South Junction, and that gives them a lot of land for future organic growth there. So it's all very logical. It's probably, as I said, probably taken away a lot of competitive tension for Aura, for other people to get involved, because Westgold have effectively got control of it. It's when Westgold, if they want to wrap it up, to get all the cash flow from it. Yeah. I think it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And
imagine Cadra will start ripping the bloody RC holes through, like they're already drilling for Westgold on half of it. Chuck the Aura tenements in.
There you go.
That's Cadra done and dusted for a decade up there.
Mate, that's fascinating to me. There's actually, I can see some of Cadral's, like the people behind Cadral, their names in some of the assets there too.
Really? Which ones?
Paddy's Flat.
Paddy's Flat. Oh, I want to say, I think we make that a new rule. If this merger happens, since I've announced it to the world, any deposit that is found via a Cadral, RC or diamond hole, that deposit has to be named something either involving Drew or Ryan.
It's already there. Ryan's is already there. The Crown Prince.
Oh, there you go.
He's the Crown Prince.
There you go. Yeah.
Can you imagine one called Schooner?
Schooner. We're going to punch a decline in the Schooner with Druba. The Druba decline.
Hang on, I can see Drew's there. Viking. Fuck.
Viking. Oh, that is, yeah. So I think that is as I said, something I want to see in the term sheet if this actually happens. K-Drill. Bloody mine names. Now we're talking.
Get K-Drill drilling for you.
In the Murchison. We'll get, because I've put forward the case where they're going to be extremely busy. So get them now before they can't service you, effectively.
Go, K-Drill.
Regis, another one that's been talked about for ages, but it's been talked about a bit differently at the moment. And we mentioned it before, high-cost producer, but now because the gold price, it's a high-cost producer at the old gold prices, but now it's the cost it's producing at is making shitloads of cash now that they've cleared the historical hedge book.
Matty, you know how I remember the series of events? You turned your head to me and you said, is Regis a takeover target? Since then, the share price is up like 35%.
I know. I think I've got some pull in the market, I think, these days.
Good juju.
Maybe. I'm just concerned if people are listening to me. That's the thing. And I will ask, what do you think, before I get into it? Do you think, because numbers don't, like when we're talking about mid caps and high cost producers, we're referencing probably older gold prices. Do you think larger companies will start looking at these higher cost mid caps, or do you think the mid caps are just going to keep playing with mid caps in the M&A area?
Both.
Yeah,
I think like the equation is still it's still cheaper to buy than build.
Yeah,
and as long as that's the equation, the way you grow is acquisition. Even with a premium, it's still cheaper to buy than build, and especially with the uncertainty and the delays that come with permitting timelines. I mean, you want synergies with that, and if you can realise that, happy days. But while there's like real strategic value to the latent infrastructure because you've got permitting and all that sort of stuff, and while it's still cheaper to buy than build, then I think you'll see the theme. Yeah.
And Regis have got the double wag, because I think what Duketon is, I think it's 10 million tonne processing capacity from memory total. Tropicana is, was it that much? I'm not sure. Something like, it was pretty bloody big. It might have been 8. Tropicana, as we said, once the pit's finished there, even though they've only got the 30% ownership of that, that's going to have a lot of extra capacity there that will have to be downsized when it goes underground only. So they've got a lot of infrastructure, and they're printing cash at the moment. But
I think the thing, people, it's that permitting and infrastructure, it's hard to quantify how valuable that is.
Yeah.
And the other thing is as well, I know we use the word high cost or high cost gold producer, but even someone producing at 2,500 Aussie, last I looked this morning, the gold price, Aussie gold price, was about 4,100 or 4,150, something like that. So that's a $1,600 margin.
Yeah.
At a higher cost, right? And that's just crazy.
3,000 is going to be the new 2,000 soon. In terms of that psychological number for all-in sustaining costs. Remember, if anyone was above 2,000, you're like, nah, you're losing money.
Yeah.
Or you're potentially only breaking even once you add in the all-in costs. And that's, as we've seen, ones that are running at 2,600. But the dollar value margin is bigger. Like, once you get the higher the prices go, as a percentage.
Yeah, so proportionally, yeah.
It's So I think the big play for them, as we discussed, whether they can pull it off, it'd be pretty transformational, is getting 100% of Tropicana. And it's whether Anglo Gold Ashanti want to de-Australia themselves. Like, I think that's their big play without looking elsewhere. Like in the ground, they got a right of first refusal, don't they? On that, similar to the
they do. Yeah.
Greatland Telfer thing.
Yeah.
So that's the play. Whether they'd have to take Sunrise Dam with that, I don't know, the life of Sunrise. I think that'd be the big one for them. But is the potential that they've got that option, right of first refusal, they're generating heaps of cash, combine them two things together is probably why there's a lot of fucking attention on them at the moment as a target, because people want that. I'd say companies would want that opportunity. Could be a major trap. Who knows? Maybe not. But like, I'm not discounting my stupid prediction last time, but I still think something with Ramelius could be a possibility one day. Like, I know it's this whole, I can't get this Ramelius Regis Spartan thing out of my head. I'm sorry, but it's just, it's like a needle hitting me. Like, but it could be the whole thing is like who runs it. Like, but you combine, like, to get this scale to combine these things and, like, you know, potentially move some gear around and get like Rebecca Rowe going. The Tropicana thing would have to be appealing for some of these companies. So, and it might be similar to when Northern Star Genesis merged, Northern Star Saracen merged. It might be just sort of merge it into a big entity and sort of everyone hangs around in different roles, and then they might leave a bit later on. They pretty much all left there, and there's Stewie and Simon Jessup pretty much left out of all the people that come in with it. But don't know. I think I do look at Spartan thinking, right, why hasn't Ramelius taken them yet? But why hasn't Spartan at a $1.7 billion market cap raised $300 right now to completely equity fund and progress it towards FID? Like, how much? I know they're waiting on scoping study, and which I believe's been going on for a while. And like, with the amount of information they've got, and it, to be honest, it's relative. It appears to be a relatively simple mine to design. Like, if you could just start it on Never Never and Pepper. Like there is the
then
other ones, whether they're wanting more information to prove the confidence before they put the study out.
Well, if it was Ramelius's, they wouldn't refurb the mill. They'd actually just send it to checkers, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, is Spartan waiting on them to do something because they don't want to commit to the mill? Like, it must be some back and forth going on, because they're probably not going to raise $300 now until they know that Ramelius is not going to buy them.
Well, yeah.
Or do they? I suppose you could. Who gives a fuck?
Ding, ding, ding on Spartan for JD, by the way.
Oh, JD, still bloody... God,
he's in Rotto.
He can pick him that bar. It's his birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday,
JD.
HBD, JBD.
JD's he's on a family expedition. I think he'd be spewing because he can't be sitting down listening to finance podcasts or reading financial stuff. Like, and he has to let it go for a day on a weekday. He'd be wigging out.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah, I just can't figure out what must be a lot going on behind closed doors here, because
there's one thing that keeps coming up with when you mention that Regis could be. I think they're more vulnerable when the share price was a bit lower, but it's bounced and it's a bit harder to make the case, I think. But whenever you talk about Regis in a vulnerability perspective, people always bring up the uncertainty with the royalty claim as it relates to Tropicana. You can solve for that in M&A. There's like things called contingent value rights, which can like literally like there is a piece of contingent consideration which can if you're deemed to be liable for whatever in those circumstances. So
who else pops in your mind who would take over Regis? I just can't think of anyone.
Don't know, but TBA.
Don't know.
I feel like that that study for Spartan will be a bit of a catalyst, pardon the pun.
But
just for something to happen.
Yeah, right. For a bit of M&A, yeah. Interesting. God, you'd be while they're sitting, like, they're at effectively a similar share price to what Bellevue was at. Now, I think their share price is higher than what Bellevue was at pre FID, I would say. $1.7 billion. I'm sure Bellevue wasn't anywhere near that high when they were starting to put studies out.
I can't remember. But like,
it's
like
$1
billion is now $2 billion. The way
they're 1.7. It's next up, I'm sure this one has to be close. Genesis and Volt.
And I'm ding, ding across both.
Ding, 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 ding. Just like
advocating for the merger. This is like the activists. They buy both sides and say,
hope for the best.
Buy the acquirer, buy the target. Just buy everything. Now, but the moving parts of it. I know I was talking about Mount Munga the other week. I think I probably mentioned it after the fact of like would Volt. Would Black Cat be interested in Mount Munga? Historical connections, looking for a processing solution for their Cal East. But, it sounds like Mount Munga is actually a pretty good asset at the moment because they've got 6 years of pits by the looks. They've got a shitload of ground there. They've got obviously a lot of stockpiles there. It looks like it's high all-in sustaining cost, but it's the impairment on the stockpile, the working capital movement for the stockpile processing, but they appear to be making cash there. And I'm like, well, maybe if with all those open pit potential, we know Genesis, we know Raoul loves his pits, would Mount Munga actually be part of what might come into the mix if that thing, and they didn't simplify it and just turn it back into Red 5 and just get King of the Hills? Like, don't know. I'm not sure about that one. I think Sugar Zone, as I said, definitely has to go somewhere else. Deflector, most likely the same. Get rid of both of them. Mount Munga, I'm unsure of, but I don't. You know one thing that Genesis aren't going to overpay. They're not going to they've already got a base case scenario that they don't need King of the Hills mill. They're not going to overpay. They'd be assuming it would be in negotiation phase for the best merger ratio at the moment, because they've got a base case where they don't need it.
Who needs it more?
I don't think either of them need it. Technically.
I think they both need it.
They both need it, but they both survive without it.
Yeah.
In a way.
I don't know. I think like Genesis is top 20 shorted companies right now. It's been there for a while, but I do think some of the short interest in Genesis is pricing in this deal.
Do you think it'd be pricing in the growth, something Tower Hill dragging out or something like, because a lot of value is this, multiple years onwards for Genesis's story. If there's one sort of hiccup in that not being backfilled, then
It's hard. It's hard if you remove the management premium from Genesis. It is hard to like back out the its current valuation just based on a free cash flow sort of profile. But you're buying the story in a lot of ways with Genesis because they do have like management premium is a thing for a reason and all that sort of stuff. But I do think like together both of those kind of companies have a better proposition to the market, and I think both of them have tremendous incentive to do that deal.
Oh, it is as simple as, can you imagine chucking Gwalia, Ulysses, the higher grade dirt of that up to a 6 million ton King of the Hill with your open pit base feed, taking the pressure. Look at King of the Hill's last quarterly, mining 0.57 gram dirt. Like obviously got stuck in one area waiting on cutbacks and stripping and everything. It's like, but you imagine not having that much pressure on delivering those tons when you got some higher grade underground base feed getting sent up, like another 1 million ton of underground feed coming up. Like it's and the cost of that mill running at 6 million ton, lifting the grade, like it's a no brainer. But who's gonna give the flesh to who for the deal?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think it'll just be.
Can't they all just be happy and just say, "We think this is fair"? That'd be too boring, wouldn't it?
Create the bloody, Laverton Mega Co or something.
No. Anyway, I don't think it's too far away. Buddy, you wouldn't do it in December, would
Sorry,
you?
Leonora Laverton.
Don't fuck
Mega
out Christmas.
Co.
Bloody hell. Anyway, this one on the back of the MinRes story. And this is definitely 12 to 18 months. I would not be surprised, and I think you mentioned it. It was one of your possible propositions. Hancock taking MinRes private and throwing it into Hancock. Can you imagine if Gina actually had that mining services in-house and vertically integrating Hancock, like Roy Hill and all that? The other one, as I mentioned the other week, Wodgina been probably less than 100 Ks from Azure and over. Even though Wodgina's, I think each train is 250,000 tonne. They didn't do the fourth, I think. So it says on the website, 800,000 tonne throughput. I think it runs at 750. It's obviously would be scalable, so it probably would need to be scaled up or turn the Wodgina mining off, send Andover over there. So there's a bit of that.
It's still 50-50 JV with Albemarle Wodgina mine.
How would that work in terms of if Gina just takes MinRes, they're the operator now?
She becomes party to that JV.
Yeah. Do you think she'd have a drama with that?
That depends on the terms of the JV.
Albemarle don't have any control.
Don't know.
Yeah, that there. But she's a JV type of person. She's got the JV with SQM for Andover. I think that could be something. Like, especially really that'd give her a lot. Who knows if she's going to go balls deep into lithium? Like, because remember, she's like, if she was going to, she's got Andover. Potentially, she can take Liontown whenever she wants. She could. If she takes MinRes, she's got the control to take Wildcat then with MinRes's 20% shareholding, or if it's still at that level, I'm not sure. We don't know. Because I still think Spodumene will have its day in the sun for some period.
I've got a reflection on it's funny like doing this podcast, right? Because the more stuff we put out, the more comes back to us. And one thing has been consistent throughout the entirety that we've done this podcast. We have never, ever, ever had a single person that works at Hancock give us a bit of word on the decline. I think it is so hard to predict what Gina will do.
Yeah.
It is so hard. We've got no fucking idea.
No.
The market, the most attuned people in the market have no fucking idea what Gina's going to do. She's so hard to predict.
That'd be great if just like the easiest way to solve that is if Hancock people gave us some word on the decline. Like, why not? I think that 12 to 18 months timeline they've put on the succession plan for MinRes, I don't think that necessarily is firmly saying there will be a new CEO of MinRes. I think that's 12 to 18 months to possibly do a deal as well. And it could it gives them a good time frame to maybe execute something. That's obviously one option. I don't think they're ruling either out, but could it be there was the chat about roll and develop into MinRes, and that was probably, as you said, that could have been forced by institutions that wanted that as an outcome. That's one option. It could be Hancock taking MinRes private. God, everybody who was saying Glencore's going to, Dryblow was saying Glencore might buy them. Who knows? But I think that timeline is giving them a chance to actually execute something as well. And if nothing gets executed, there'll be a new managing director and a new chairman. So, yeah, I think something will happen there. But when the sum of the parts thing, I know that's one side. It's like pretty compelling, that sum of the parts of each MinRes entity.
Yes, that is it's just, I think the work I'm trying to do is assessing the assumptions that go into that sum of the parts valuation. Because you do your sum of the parts and you the EBITDA in the mining services business. Okay, well, how much is that interconditional on lithium and in the iron ore business? Then you look at the iron ore business and you're like, how much of that is an assumption on what nameplate's going to be versus what reality is going to be? That I'm spending like all of my time on MinRes looking at like what is Onslow's reality going to be versus what assumptions the market are.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest determinant. Forget Chris, forget everything else. The biggest thing that impacts the financial health of that company is what Onslow's reality is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're bloody leveraged to a lithium turnaround too.
100%. 100%.
Like that is like, that'd have to be one of the most talked and talked about spodumene bloody producers, because like, hey, they were flying when lithium was flying. Obviously not now, but
100%.
It's going to be, mate, post-Chinese New Year. You wait. Once Chinese New Year's over next year, come February.
Chuck it on the dartboard, post-Chinese New Year.
Post-Chinese New Year, I don't know what's going to happen. Could be madness. Right, you want to get a bit loose?
Tell me, Matty.
You like this, don't
and
read
I'll
it.
just,
I just want to watch your face like you bloody idiot. Metals X.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. It's unsure what's going to happen with that. The word going around about the remainder of Renison being bought out and Metals X putting a thing.
It's not the entire of Renison, to be clear. They've got the JV part of it is like the tin smelter. The other part of it's this listed company in Hong Kong, and they're trying to buy the listed company in Hong Kong, which would give them most of the rest of the JV, but not all of it.
Okay. So it's
the
not
tin
for the
smelter.
whole.
The tin smelter would still be part of that.
Oh
entity,
roger that. Yeah, but it's the mine.
Yeah, they would wrap up, like they would definitely have controlling interest of the.
Yeah. Could develop merge with Metals X.
Jeez.
As an underground specialist. Run the underground at Renison. Potentially then get in the mix for Stellar Resources, which is in the area and also an underground project, and take the 200 mil cash in the door that Metals X has, which beefs up Develop's balance sheet. And there has been talk that Develop is looking at 10.
Gotcha. So Metals X isn't the operator of Renison, so I think it's this hypothetical would be contingent on that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how do you appoint a mining contractor in the first place? But
So the Chinese owner is the operator?
Yeah, Metals X have input on the JV, and there are mechanisms for that. But it's the their JV partner, which is technically the operator.
The operator.
Yeah, that'd be.
That's a very interesting one. First time I've heard you put that one out.
One about, and because it's the textbook play of we'll take your cash, we'll take your expertise.
And I'm
it's recorded.
Small ding on developing mins as previously flagged as well.
Quick ones off the radar that might have gone off the radar that I'll remind people of. We've heard about Mount Gibson buying the Abra Silver lead mine from the Battle Galena. Don't know if that'll happen.
But I feel like they changed them. Like, so you could see Mount Gibson, they bought up shares in True North Copper and then they dumped them. Now True North is in fucking all sorts of pain.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I don't know what they're going to, but yeah, I did hear that rumor too. Yeah.
I think I've landed on an Arano Cameco JV to buy next gen.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That's same as the Cigar Lake and MacArthur River arrangement. I think that might be an outcome for that one. BHP Anglo post November 30, where BHP can start bidding again. That'll be getting interesting. I'm a ding 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 on Anglo. Don't forget about our old WA1.
Ding ding.
There's fucking ding ding dings.
JD myself.
Yeah, $94 in the bank, so it's not like they're going to be raising money soon. You wouldn't think, or maybe. Will CBMM or Aussie take a swing at them while they're down in the $13 territory. Still think IGO might do something funky there. Who knows? Their little 7% share in Encounter next door. Wonder what IGO is going to do next. That is the question. Yeah. That is the question. Once we, and as I said, next year, post-Chinese New Year, once we have if there's a sniff of a lithium recovery, far out, I think there will be shit starting everywhere because everyone's probably sitting on their hands because they're like, whatever bloody future supply demand models are there for EVs and batteries and everything, until there's like some evidence of a underlying price movement in spodumene, they're probably going to sit on their hands for a bit. You would think Pilbara didn't with Latin, but Gina's taken bloody Kathleen Valley private, bloody, as you said, Wildcat. Could it be bloody Pilbara? Take it, Trav. That could be like, or like Minres, Gina. Who knows? Yeah, don't know what's going to happen with PMET. Rio confused things with their appeared preference to brines and everything, even though they did say that, the James Bay stuff, there was potential and everything. Will Albemarle get real active again if there's a sniff of a lithium turnaround? Because they were going hammer and tong when lithium was flying.
They need to fix their balance sheet as well at the same time, but the lithium turnaround fixes
just raise fuckloads of money and buy some companies.
The challenge with PMET is the fact that it's come down such a large percentage that shareholders are anchored to, like what sort of premium do you have to offer to fixed shareholders kind of anchored. You could offer a 200-300% premium. Like that stuff just doesn't happen. So you need the lithium recovery in order to make that premium something more palatable to a company to actually get over the line.
Yeah, but surely, it's one of those ones that the more you talk to the money men, it's like, look at what happened with Latin. Look at how high that was.
Those shareholders were willing to accept a deal.
Yeah, because they're like, well,
at far below the all-time high.
Yeah.
Would PMETs do the same? You don't know because they're trying to convince the market that they will go it alone with Ken running that instead.
It depends if they're getting. Depends what they're getting. I think depends if if it's all cash. Like, do you think you'd perceive it differently if it's all cash or it's scrip in something that you think's going to have a run?
I think all cash would have a hard time. I think yes and no, because all cash, it's if you're thinking, like you say, post Chinese New Year, there might be a sniff of a turnaround and some talk, and that you'd almost want scrip, but then that's trying to pick commodity price movements is thrown at a dartboard as well. So, do you want the certainty of cash? I don't know.
And I think you'd have to look at it in the lens of liquidity too, wouldn't you? Because if it's all cash, it's like it might be lower, but if you do maintain your shareholding and it goes up and you got that many shares, they're such big shareholders, how do you get out? Like, you need a way to get out of it.
Liquidity event. Yeah. TBA.
How good's life?
Yep.
All of those are fucking guaranteed, I reckon.
Just like your Melbourne Cup bets today.
Just like bloody warp speed. Bloody dickhead.
A slow news day, but we've made something of it, Matty. I'm going to reserve my predictions for a future episode because I think we've just bloody gone over time today. But
my poor mother's watching. She's still awake. Go G-Bar. Legend. Love you, Mum. Love our partners. I don't love these sponsors as much as my mother, I'll just say. But I do bloody love them a lot. Mineral mining services, grounded. Oh, speaking of, I had me high tea yesterday. I had some like profiteroles and had a bit of a Sicilian feel about it.
Feel to it.
It's bloody nice. Go Paul Natoli. CrossBoundary Energy, Sandvik Ground Support Division, CR Insurance, K-Drill, Daysat. Daysat is a new sponsor we haven't introduced yet, but you stay tuned.
Yeah.
And bloody hell, hooteroo. Fuck, how long was that?
Big one.
Hour. There was no news.
The information contained in this episode of Money of Mine is of general nature only and does not take into account the objectives, financial situation or needs of any particular person. Before making any investment decision, you should consult with your financial advisor and consider how appropriate the advice is to your objectives, financial situation and needs.